Hey everyone, this is Benjamin Scow with Utah State University Extension in Washington County, down here in sunny St. George, actually in the Hurricane area, but it's about the same temperature no matter where you go. Today is April 13th, 2020. There are a lot of people that are going to be home and gardening for their first time. So we wanted to do some how-tos to show how to garden in the desert to help you be successful and have a good garden this year. So we're going to start with a drip system, how to install a drip system into a grow bed, also an in-ground garden. So this is Utah State University Extension's garden spot out in Washington County. We're going to put in two drip systems here, one to water these shrubs. This video is going to focus on the grow boxes. So before we start, there are some basic fittings that I wanted to show you. Most of these fittings are going to be used for a drip tape system. Some of the other ones can be used in any type of system. So the first fitting that we want to start with is how you're going to attach it to your faucet or your hose. So this is an adapter that slides onto a 1/2 inch black tubing. It has barbs when you slide it in, so it's not going to slide back out. The threads on this one are for a hose fitting. They're also offered in a pipe fitting depending on what you're attaching it to. So some of the most used fittings are these ones. These are T fittings. They're going to have barbs on any side. This is to splice into a system. Another one is a 90. This is if you're making a sharp 90-degree turn. One that's less common is a 4-way. This is one that if you have your main line and you want to split it two different ways at the same spot, you can definitely use one of those. A cheaper alternative, one that you might already have the parts for, you can use 2 T fittings. It makes it just a little bit longer, but you can direct it 4 ways still. It just takes a little bit longer to do, but that's another option that you don't have to buy the special 4 ways for. And then we have a splicer. This is if you have a hole, you can cut it out and splice it back together. You can also add additional line to your system as well. So in these other fittings, they're going to be used for the drip tape. These are how you attach it to the 1/2 inch tubing. You slide the tape on and tighten it. This is the barb that you push into the 1/2 inch tubing. This is the threaded part that you push the drip tape onto. And then you will tighten it back up over the top of it to keep it in place. These, on the opposite end of the drip tape, these are the plugs that you would thread onto the end, clamp them down, and it prevents it from leaking and blowing off. The other emitters down there in the corner are for just a 2 gallon an hour drip emitter. This is an end cap that you would put wherever you're going to end the water pressure. We're going to start here at the hydrant where we have the water and how to get that into what is called a drip tube. This is a really thin piece of plastic. It has a slit in it, or an emitter, that lets just a drop of water out at a time. This one's spaced at every 6 inches. You can get 18 inches, 2 feet. You can find different lengths for the emitter spacing on these, but it's pretty inexpensive. This is something it's temporary. You're going to replace this every year, every 2 years at the most. But we're going to put this into the grow box. It'll let water out, and after you let it water for about an hour, you can see a nice good strip of water that's just gone straight into the ground. None of it's gotten evaporated back into the atmosphere. It's a really good water efficient way to go when we're irrigating in our gardens. So with the hydrant, we have a timer on here. You don't have to have a timer. This is optional. They're a little bit pricey, but I like timers because I'm not at the office all the time, and I can have it run every day or every other day or every 3 days, whatever's required for the plants. I think they're about $50. There's a whole bunch of different brands. This one's an Orbit. There's a bunch of different brands that make them, though, that you can find for different prices, and that should be able to meet your needs. So one thing before we get into our irrigation system, the hydrant, if you test the pressure, an irrigation system with drip, they require about 25 psi. You don't want to be more than 35 psi. If it's too high, it can blow your system apart. It'll let out more water than it's supposed to. So we're going to put a pressure reducer on here if it needs it. We've tested the water on this. It's about 35 psi, which is sufficient for a drip system. And we don't want to be much more than that. If it's more, then you look at getting a pressure reducer or a pressure regulator to reduce the pressure in that system. So we have our water, there's a timer. We also need to put a filter on here. We'll show that in a minute. A filter will keep any small particles out of the system. In a drip system, those orifices that let that water out are super small, and if they get even a grain of dirt in them, they can plug after a while and they won't be any good and they won't work the way they're supposed to. So those are some of the basic things we need before we start on an irrigation system. Once those are in place, we can go ahead and plug in our main line, which is this black poly tube. It's really flexible. You can run it wherever you need and be able to get water to your plants. From there, once these are in place, then you can plug all kinds of things into it. That's where it gets kind of fun with the drip system. You can plug an emitter into it. We're going to plug drip tape into it. And you'll see how it all comes together. So now we're ready to install the drip system into the grow boxes. So we're going to show how to get the water up and into the grow box to be able to access it for our drip tape. Okay, so we're here at the corner of a grow box. We have our main line coming in, what we've cut. We have some fittings, and these fittings have barbs on the inside and on the edge, and that just keeps the pipe from sliding back forward. So you push the pipe on top of that, like so. And then I'm going to have it continuing on to the next box, so it's going to connect there as well. I've dug into the grow box on the back and underneath, so I can run the water. I can run a pipe up through here. I can also run it on the edge. I just like it on the inside because I think it looks better. So we're going to, I have a piece that's about the right height, so I'm going to run that up and under. And put that on with that T, and then I have, this is just a 90, I can put that on top here. Then what we'll do here is I'm going to run a piece of pipe along the top of here, and then I'm going to plug this drip tape with some fittings that we'll show you in just a minute. They'll plug into here, and we'll put a fitting on the end of it, and it should be good to go. Okay, so we have finished putting on 3 of the drip tapes. We have the 4th one we're going to add to it. I wanted to show you a couple things to kind of finish the system on this grow box. So the first one is an end cap. It looks kind of like the threaded part, but there's nothing to thread onto. It's just a hard cap on the end. There's different versions of an end cap. There are some that will bend this end over. There's just 2. It looks like a figure 8, and they loop into each other that you can fold it over and pinches it off and doesn't let the water out. This is one that just pushes onto the end. So you squish it on there, and that way the water, it'll hold the pressure, the water won't come out. The next part I wanted to show you is how to install the drip tape to the 1/2-inch tubing. So I have 3 of them installed already, as you can see. There are fittings. There's different types, so there's not just one fitting that you can buy. There's different versions. There's a blue one. It works the same as these green ones do. How they work is you have your drip tape, then you have the fitting. The fitting has barbs on it, and how it works is it will slide into that drip tape, and then what you do is it swivels and pinches it and keeps it onto that fitting, so it won't come off. So again, there's a green one, this is a blue one, same idea, different brand of a company that makes those. What you'll do with this is it has this part. The nipple here it's barbed as well, so once you push it into that 1/2-inch tubing, it won't come back out. Unless you really pull on it, then it will. So how to make the hole? There are different ways to do this. They have tools for them. It has a little hole punch on here. Basically, you'll go to the spot that you want to put your fitting, punch a hole into it, and then push that barbed part into that 1/2-inch tubing. Then you're good to go. Then to finish it off, we have one more fitting for the drip tape. And this is the end. So same idea. This is what the fitting looks like. It has a little loop. You can put pegs in there if you want to stretch it out and keep it from moving. If the wind's blowing like it is today, it keeps it from flying everywhere. As you can tell, it's really light. But same thing, you open that up, you'll slide that in. So you slide it on, and then you just twist it, give it a good crank, and it's good to go. So now that this is all closed off at a full pressure, we can go ahead and turn that on, and it will let the water out. So I wanted to show a couple examples of what you can use drip tape for. This is a large tomato garden that they're using different plastic mulches for covers to keep the weeds down, but drip tape is ran underneath that plastic mulch. There's 2 rows in each, 1 row for each tomato. A row of tomatoes. This is just a piece of drip tape that's ran on top of the ground that you can plant anything into. You can do squash, this is an example of doing row crops. You can do onions, peas, beets. This is an example of a raised bed that has beets, onions, and peas again. It's just down the road from that other one. This is someone's garden before they planted it. They're doing all kinds of different things with the drip tape. It's on top of the ground, it's under plastic. So there's lots of examples of things you can do with your drip tape.